प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित् सुखं परमहंस गतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवेति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। नित्यशुद्धविमुक्तैकम् अखण्डानन्दमद्वयम् सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तं यत् परं ब्रह्माहमेव तत्। एवं निरन्तराभ्यस्तात् ब्रह्मैवास्मीति वासना हरत्यविद्याविक्षेपान् रोगानिवरसायनम् विविक्तदेशासीनो विरागो विजितेन्द्रियः भावयेदेकमात्मानं तमनन्तमनन्यधीः आत्मन्येवाखिलं दृश्यम् प्रविलाप्य धिया सुधीः भावयेदेकमात्मानं निर्मलाकाशवत् सदा रूपवर्णादिकं सर्वं विहाय परमार्थवेत् परिपूर्णचिदानन्द स्वरूपेणावतिष्ठते ज्ञातृज्ञानज्ञेयभेदः परेणात्मनि विद्यते चिदानन्दैकरूपत्वात् दीप्यते स्वयमेव हि एवमात्मारणौ ध्यान मथने सततं कृते उदितावगतिर्ज्वाला सर्वज्ञानेन्धनं दहेत् अरुणेनेव बोधेन पूर्वं सन्तमसे हृते तदा विर्भवेदात्मा स्वयमेवांशुमानिव आत्मा तु सततं प्राप्तोऽप्यप्राप्तवदवेद्यया तन्नाशे प्राप्तवद्भाति स्वकण्ठाभरणं यथा स्थाणौ पुरुषवद्भ्रान्त्या कृता ब्रह्मणि जीवता जीवस्य तात्विके रूपे तस्मिन् दृष्टे निवर्तते.
There was a survey that was conducted by a independent researcher few years back. A British lady, she was saying that in Britain she could experience what is known as haunted houses. Haunted houses means ghosts or spirits are supposed to be there. You go there, you get a very eerie feeling, a sort of a different vibration. We also experience that even positively. When you go to a temple, there is a different vibration there. What is this vibration? Vibration is many people come there, and when they come there, their thoughts are relatively pure. That sort of creates the atmosphere, purifies the atmosphere there. So when you go there, you are also positively affected by it. Not only that, rishis and great other sages, they have even done the mantras and pratishtha of the temple. So it has a lot of power. That is why, even though you can see God everywhere, it is recommended that we go to temple, and as a practice to purify ourselves, it is there. So like that, if there are places where so much of negativity is there, suppose husband and wife is keeping on fighting all the time, and the whole house is always in a disturbed, agitated condition, and in that process somebody gets killed there, or commits suicide or something, then you will find that vibration itself, for us, that is the visible experience. We need not go into the discussion of whether there is ghost or what happens to the subtle body. That is not the scope of the discussion here. But there is a sort of a negative vibration that you get there. And she said, per capita, if you look at it, the same from the Indian society point of view and the Indian houses, she says not much there. As much as you find in Britain or other countries, you don't find it here. And then she came to a very startling conclusion. The reason she says that is that the ancestral worship in the form of tarpan that you give to ancestors, that is very prevalent and practiced even today by large sections of the society. So once the ancestors feel satisfied, their blessings is there, you get a very peaceful atmosphere in the same house. This is her conclusion. But it is very imperative for us also to understand the importance of this. Not only India, various other countries also have this ancestral worship. They have in earlier civilizations of Egypt also, and China and Japan, they all regularly do it. In India, it is much prevalent. It is said that a Hindu is born with 5 runas. Runas means debt. The Deva Rana, Pitru Rana, Rishi Rana, the Manushya's Rana, and Bhuta's Rana. So the Deva Rana is your Rana towards the gods. Gods are those who help us to survive here by providing sunlight, rain, all elements which makes it conducive for our life here, without which life is not possible. So the puja that you do is a remembrance with gratitude to the gods, that they are helping us to survive, and say thank you. Gayatri mantra is one way saying thank you to sun. Daily comes and goes, that itself is a great blessing. If he continues to stay, we cannot continue to survive. If he doesn't come at all, it is not possible. But regularly he comes and goes. Wind. If wind flow is not there, if fresh water flow is not there, rainwater is not there. So Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Agni, each and every person, Surya, each and every god is tremendously beneficial for us. They are graceful in their attitude towards us. So minimum we can do is to show our gratitude in the form of puja. Pitru Rana is the Rana towards the ancestor. Rishi Rana is the gratitude to rishis who have kept this knowledge alive. By doing swadhyaya and doing pravachana or spreading the knowledge, by living the knowledge and raising yourself to that self, highest form of Rana is this, because this cannot be measured in any terms. This is directly affecting the spirituality in you, development of intellect towards that. So Rishi Rana. We are social creatures, and therefore we are indebted to fellow human beings, without whose help it is not possible for us to survive. We cannot do everything by ourselves. You cannot say I pay a salary, but there's a maid servant, there's a driver, there is the workers in the factory, there are government people, there are bank people, and not only that, there are people in the community who do things together. There are guests who give you opportunity to serve, shopkeepers, each and every way. If you see, it is a very beautiful collective living that is there. So there is a Rana towards them. So you entertain guests, you do any form of social service, all this is towards that. And nature, plants, animals, each and everything, they give us food. Dogs protect us, cows give us milk, horse pulls carriages, each earthworm, crow, we may not touch that filth, but if the crow doesn't clear that filth, it is not possible for us to live. So that is there. In this comes the Pitru Rana. Pitrus are the ancestors who are the cause for our existence in this form. So starting from our parents, the chain goes endlessly upwards. All of them are Pitrus. Pitrus means ancestors. It is through them that our sanskaras are maintained. We are who we were. If we forget that past, we don't have a locus standi. We don't have a substratum to stand upon. Very sad that after partition based on religion, Pakistan as a country has lost its roots. So it is somewhat hanging neither here nor there. Unless otherwise, a person can follow Islamic religion, but you cannot change your ancestors. That you have to maintain. It is a land of great sages and saints and various other rishis who have been there. So that you have to, yoga and all started there, originated there. There means it is the whole part of India only. So we see that in India, even if other rituals are performed or not, there is a attachment towards performing this. There's a psychology to it also. Even as we leave the values and there is much of bickering and quarrel as we grow up, there is no family bond or ties or there is strict respect or other things. But at some point of time, the awareness comes to the mind of the person, maybe later in his life, either during parents are alive or after their death, he realizes it may be late but doesn't matter. From that time onwards, he feels his indebtedness has to be expressed. And there are rituals that are given and it may slightly vary from each tradition to tradition, family to family. That is all there. But main thing is with reference to some till and water, they give what is known as this. They satisfy their thirst, they satisfy their hunger by this. Main thing is this attitude of gratitude. Some people may not even follow this strictly, the rituals. They feed a orphanage or something like that in the memory of my father. Or in the memory of the father, they do that, keep a water pandal or some other thing. For the sake of others, they do. It is in remembrance of that ancestors that they are able to. In fact, Tirukural, the great book of the whole world, it's written in Tamil. It talks about the importance of paying this debt off in 10 verses. Each and every topic has 10 verses. It is talking about this. So, why it is important? From the philosophical point of view, the values that we practice are that which is conducive for us to move towards self-realization. These values are not just read and understood and then practiced. They are practiced by observing people who are practicing it. So in a patriarchal family or a matriarchal family, whether it is the mother or the father, whoever is the highest sitting there, they follow certain principles. These principles are observed by the children right from the young age and they are inculcated. Of course, it is very important that you know the meaning also, but even without that, to practice it in the initial stage is important. Once you do that, when you are bereft of values, probably later in life due to your extroverted nature, if you want to come back to your spiritual core, these values that are gained at a younger age, it helps. And who is there to help us there? It is the parents. It is the grandparents. That culture is not there now, but grandparents telling stories to grandchildren is the very important form of inculcating the sanskar in the child. You can see cartoon and other things also and gain knowledge that is there available now, but there is no substitute for listening to the story from the grandparents or teachers, like that it is. So you will find that each and every family owes its existence that way to an unbroken chain there. Therefore, it is obligatory on our part. This is the philosophical side, that you have a unbroken lineage through which the values are passed on and instilled. From the sentimental point of view and scientific point of view, if you are able to accommodate, because this is based on faith. You do not know where the father is, forefather is. Simply, you can say it's your imagination or faith. There's no proof. where is the Pitruloka and where are they? When are they going to become Devas? When are they going to come back and take rebirth again? How do you know that your father is not already reborn? Why do you have to do it to him? These are all not questions to be dealt with. In fact, the term Shraddha ceremony itself is derived from the term Shraddha, means to faith, to have that faith and do it. So in that process, you will find that there is a connection between your subtle body and the other subtle body. And the connection is stronger when it is closer. And who is closer to you than your parents, than your children, than the wives and the husband and other close relatives? Therefore, that subtle body, when it has been strongly associated with you through life, after that life is over, when it has to continue its journey, it has to be appeased, it has to be satisfied, it has to be satiated, for which certain rituals and certain methodology is given as to how to do it. So you do it first 12 days, 13 days, 13th day is the holy day after the death. Then you do it once a month. There are some people who do once a day also for the rest of the year, first year. But once a month they do. Then they do once a year. So it is like satisfying them, by which time they are completely merged with the Pitraloka or something. Then they are quite happy and they bless from there. Like that it is. If a person is not satisfied, he hovers around here, and that is what is disturbing. That is what they meant. Now, if you look at it from philosophical angle, take that case of that lady who prepared that research. Why is it that a person will not do it? Okay, one thing is that it is in our culture, it is not there to do. But even in Christianity, if I am not mistaken, there is a Thanksgiving Day. If somebody is not well, you raise a toast in his name. In his name means that the effect of your eating will go to him, like that. It's a feeling. It's just a feeling. How can your eating bread go to him? Like that. Similarly, like in our Shraddha ceremony, you call 2 Brahmins and feed them. This will satisfy the ancestors. How will feeding this person go there? This is in spirit, you have to understand. These questions are not some rationalists and scientific people asking now. These questions are dealt in Ramayana times only. There is a rishi who is asking these questions to Rama. I thought you are all intelligent people, you are doing this. And Dasharatha, where is he now? You are doing this, hearing the news of your father's death. Rama gets so offended. He says, Bharata, don't allow this person near our kingdom. How is he even talking ill about the parampara, about our tradition, about this ritual? He is saying. So, Rama practiced it, Sita practiced it, everybody practiced it. So, why does a person not? So, it is not maybe according to ritual, but even otherwise, why will not a person have a sense of gratitude? It is after all when you are in a helpless state that they took care of you. You cannot say they had no other choice but to only take care of me. Even the animals do it. They have to do it. What is this attitude? This is a very selfish attitude. That I am there and everybody is there only to cater to me. So when the selfish attitude is there, what is the vibration that is created around? And there will be not a harmonious relationship with the other persons. So the whole atmosphere gets affected by this. Therefore, our life becomes one full-fledged payment or repayment of debt only. So when this awareness comes, your life will turn towards a giving rather than acquiring or taking. Therefore, once a year is a remembrance on their tithi or day, but it is a general remembrance of each and every contribution that has been into our life. And this particular paksha, this paksha is called as Pitru Paksha. And in Bengal, they celebrate it in a big way, all over India, definitely, and all caste of people. And not Brahmins only, not only any other particular sect or particular caste. Everybody does that. And in this 15 days, which is 15 days before the Navaratri, some people do it daily, all the 15 days. Some people on that particular day, which is the tithi for them, or according to their convenience, some people go to Ganga banks and do. But whatever way, we recommend that each and every person performs this. When it came to advent of Brahma Samaj and Arya Samaj, they were probably not emphasizing much on these rituals. But mere knowledge and Brahman alone, how many people can sustain on that basis? You need rituals are the limbs by which you are connected to the reality. You have to do it. It is said much more than Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. It is the Bengal people who do Ganga worship much more. And you see that there is a disconnect between whom we call as the masses and the elite people of here, because of the influence of probably Brahma Samaj and other thing. Over a generation they have left it. But as I said, even if you are not having any ritual, or if you do not know, or if you are not capable of doing it, doesn't matter. It's better that we do it along the Shastra lines only, because they are well defined and there's a particular purpose scientifically assigned to it. But even otherwise, whatever inspires you, at least we have to do. And this 15 days is very auspicious for that. You have to do on that particular day of the year where he has actually left the body. That's fine. But this 15 days is meant for that. It is meant for this Mahalaya Paksha, or the Pitru Paksha is meant for ancestral worship. So we need to use this in a positive way so that we are able to discharge our karma in this way. It's a way of discharging our karma. Right. Verse 39 says, having intelligently dissolved the entire objective world in the Atman alone, the wise one should constantly meditate upon the one Atman as the stainless sky. See, the ultimate realization is experiencing the oneness. Again, we use the word experience. We are going to say it is beyond all experiences. But that existence of oneness is realized. That is called as total realization. One step before that is a very high state, which is also called as partial realization. Partial realization is when you are able to encompass the entire world with your experience of love, so that you are experiencing God everywhere. Ounce of your individuality is still remaining, because in that experience you don't experience plurality, but you experience duality. You and God. You are experiencing God. In other words, whatever you eat, sleep, do various other things which are called experiences, in and through one line runs parallelly or continuously, which is the thought of the self. So, unless otherwise a person is able to unify the pluralistic phenomenon into that entity called God, he cannot go beyond it and dissolve that also into the unity of the self. This is the sequence. The Kaivalya Upanishad and other Upanishads also make it very, very clear that Nanya Pantha Vimuktaye. There is no other way to liberation. That you see yourself in others and others in yourself. This is the way. What is that? That is by encompassing that in the unified feeling of love. Here in Atma Bodha he is talking about that oneness of Atman only. So when you are deeply in connection with your Atma inside, whatever you feel inside, with which you are able to cover up all the names and forms outside, and you are able to feel that divinity, that is the way for realization here. He is talking about Bhavayed Ekam Atmanam. He said 2 times. That's why we said closed eye meditation and open eye meditation. So Alok was asking how open eye meditation is easier. We are not saying it is easier. What is to be understood is meditation till the last stage here is being talked about as a practice. When you close your mind, generally what happens? You see a lot of thoughts running here and there. And where is all these thoughts coming from? From all the impressions that you have gathered, from all the perceptions that is there. So when you close your eyes also, your mind is thinking along the same lines as your experiences has been. Now when you open your eyes and you are experiencing divinity everywhere, it becomes rather easy and becomes conducive. When you close your eyes also, you will be sort of able to concentrate on that divinity. So it is not a cut-off point where you are in the world here and you are in the self here. Not like that. There is a seamless merger of the two. Whether you open the eyes, whether you close the eyes, what you experience must be the self only, and that is what is meditation. That is why meditation is just not closing your eyes and having a concentrated concentration and rest of the day whatever you do. It will not work that way. Again, you go through that portion where we talk about that in meditation. It has to be in a very systematic way. Now, how do we bring that into our practice is the practice of trying to invoke the self in each and every perception or experience that we go through. When we experience any object outside through our eyes, ears or nose, the tendency is to get involved in that perception and lose ourselves, think about it, then linger on it, then create further desire about it. This is the normal life of any of us. Rather, as you turn introverted more, the practice given in Vedanta is that when any perception strikes you, when you are in it, try to focus on not what you see, but on what makes you see. What is it that makes you see? When you listen to the music, focus on what makes you to listen. So in each and every one of these experiences, it will slowly lead you to that same consciousness only inside. So what happens is that the perception from outside comes and dies here. It dies here. That is how a yajna is there. In fact, 12 yajnas in 4th chapter beautifully talks about this. Krishna says, as you are perceiving, as you are living your life, yajna is going on. Just realize that and you are doing yajna. He is talking about relative and absolute ideal. And then he goes on to say that in yajna there are two facets, two aspects. One is there is offering, there is a kindling. Okay, take any perception. First is, suppose I am offering what is known as the sound. When sound is offered, what is getting kindled in you? Your hearing is kindled. Right? Sight is offered into your eyes. Your sight is kindled. Your seeing is kindled. So this is the first step of that yajna. Yajna is happening actually. Just realize that. Then what happens? Then what happens is that sight or the sound that goes inside through these golayas are offered into your mind. And then the real perception is kindled, because the sense centers are there in the mind. So the real perception happens only when the perception or the object of perception reaches through the golayas, through the eyes, through the nerves, through the brain, through the receptor cells, whatever it is. And then finally it reaches somewhere in a subtle place called the sense centers. Indriya it is called. This is golaya, that is Indriya. Only when the Indriya is hit, then your perception is complete. If your mind is not there, sound may or may not come. You don't even register that. You can say you hear but you don't listen. That is the difference. What happens is that once that is there, your real hearing, your real seeing is kindled through that indriyas. This is the yajna that is going on. What happens after that? What happens after that is, this person like this listens, sees, smells, tastes, touches, so many experiences that he comes across, and he puts it inside the system. And when at a later time what he does is he brings them back and goes over it again and again. This is called cut chewing, like cut chewing of the cows. They bring the grass back and for digesting purpose, they do it again and again and again. Like that, the mind lingers, brings back the experience, relives that experience, thinking that the happiness is there, and it goes through it again and again. This is the process by which desires gets multiplied. If you are able to finish the perception with perception and no more lingering, it dies there. In fact, you can go to the next experience. You can enjoy the next experience like that. Like that was Krishna's life. But it doesn't happen like that. When you indulge in the experience, you create further desires by lingering over it. So the question is how to end perception by perception. This is how it is. As you are experiencing that, if you are able to switch on to consciousness which makes you perceive rather than what you perceive, you are strengthening the consciousness. What he said in the previous verses, Brahmai Vasmiti Vasana, I am that consciousness, that Vasana gets strengthened. And then what happens to the perception? It doesn't get rekindled by way of lingering. So you don't strengthen that desire. You are actually allowing it to die down there itself. By this process, you are invoking the consciousness. So he says, by the yoga of self-control, you are offering all the perception into that fire of consciousness, he says in the 4th chapter. Like that you kindle. So when you do like this, what happens is that in and through all the perceptions, what gets strengthened is the consciousness. So as it were, you are beginning to see that consciousness everywhere. So tat eka bhava, bhavayed ekam atmanam, that happens. Whatever and whichever experiences that you go through, a constant single pointed thought about the self will be there. And then when you go into that closed eye meditation, it automatically is a continuation of what you have been experiencing before. It becomes even more precise and powerful. Then he says, just as Nirmala Kashavatsada, like each and every name and form is now gone and you are able to view it like a sky. So as such, a single pointed thing, but it is also spread wide. This is a beautiful state of meditation. We have to experience it to understand. Mere explaining of words doesn't work. And even though I try, I cannot explain it fully because we don't have the depth of that experience in the first place. And even if the depth of the experience is there, how can it be conveyed? One has to experience it. Once you go inside that narrow path, as it were, it expands wholly into that, like a sky, therefore it is. Sky which houses everything which is not touched by it. That uncontaminated, pure Atma is like that. With that attitude, you do Bhavayed ekam atmanam. The wise people do like that, he says. Yes, sir.
So how do you differentiate between being Atma Manthan, doing, thinking on a subject and lingering on a thought? So it's on the very fine line. So how do you...
Good question. Only basic difference is when we talk about a lingering, it comes automatically by the mind and it is usually associated with sensual perceptions plus emotional transactions. Okay, because the mind firmly believes, when we say believes, that's what its nature is, to say that this experience gave me pleasure, so that is there in it. So therefore it relives it again and again to vicariously enjoy that experience through lingering. That creates further desire and pushes us towards that experience more and more. So that which automatically happens within you because of this is the mind's lingering. When you deeply reflect upon a particular concept or a subject, this is usually called as analysis, and it is not with reference to any sensual enjoyment in general. Even if you take that, what in Bhajagovindam Adi Shankaracharya gives the technique of Pratipaksha Bhavana, you are splitting it and analyzing what is the sense pleasure in this, what is the actual pleasure in this. Suppose if a boy loves a girl, and what is in that figure that he actually loves? You analyze, is it the hair that gives me pleasure? In a question and answer form here in a class, it becomes easy. But when he thinks of her as a whole, there is this delusion that this is what is giving me the pleasure. But if he is dispassionate enough and objectively think that same person in the morning and split her into parts and find that which part of her actually gives you pleasure. Is it the hair? Is it the teeth? Is it the blood? Is it whatever it is? Each and everything, when you analyze like this and you remove everything and you find, ultimately go and see that it is the Atma in her that is what you are really attracted to, but is this deluding us that it is in this particular form or something like that. So that you can say is analysis. And the difference is, this will not increase your desire, this will increase your strength of the self, consciousness. That increases the desire, and ultimately you lose the enjoyment also, and it ultimately agitates you also, because that is the nature. When you are not fully prepared to contact, and you contact it by the force of the mind, you don't derive full pleasure also. So mind going by itself versus intellectual analysis, that's the difference. Having intelligently dissolved the entire objective world in the Atman alone, the wise one should constantly meditate upon the one Atman as the stainless sky. We'll chant verse 40.
रूपवर्णादिकं सर्वं विहाय परमार्थवेत् परिपूर्णचिदानन्द स्वरूपेणावतिष्ठते.
He who has realized the Supreme Brahman discards all forms, colors, etc. and rests in his own intrinsic form, which is infinite consciousness and bliss. Till 39, he gave all the practices up to the state of meditation, negation and assertion and meditation. What is the culmination of all such practices? What is the nature of such an experience that you are supposed to get? That is what is described in verse 40 here. Discarding form, name, caste, community, all those things automatically happens once you are established in pure consciousness. You will discard each and every attachment with reference to dream only when you are fully established in the waking state. This is the easiest parallel example here. At that point, he is firmly established in his own intrinsic nature. Swarupena avatishtate. He is established firmly in his own inherent intrinsic nature. Swarupa means your intrinsic nature. That is what is you are essentially. That is what it is. And what is that? Paripurna Chidananda. Paripurna means absolute, whole, infinite. Infinite is that Paripurna. In the form of Chit and Ananda. It is infinite consciousness. It is infinite bliss. So actually this meditation culminates in self-realization, where this person has realized now that he is that supreme consciousness in which the entire thing happens. So, see, this person, when he says discarded name and form, there are two ways to it. If the movie is very disturbing for you, one is to say that try to completely switch off the movie and then just focus on that blank screen that is there. That is one way. Another way is to say that in and through that movie, just focus on the screen. Just focus on the screen. If you are able to catch hold of that screen, nothing else really matters. You can still, there may be something going on, but you are just not disturbed by it. You realize that is not there. What is really there is the screen, isn't it? That is a beautiful way. There is a story I heard in a lecture. Swami Sarvapriyananda gave that lecture. In Princess of Kashi, that is the story. Kashi Raja is there. The Raja and Rani, the king and queen, have a young boy who is 5 years old. And in that palace, they are holding a drama, dance drama or something like that, for which a young princess is required. And that girl who was supposed to do that role fell ill and she was not available. So it has to go somehow. So therefore what they decided was, this young boy was looking very pretty and handsome. So they put a girl's attire to this boy and they staged it. And it was wonderful. Everybody was thrilled at the very sight of that boy because he actually looked like a girl, and very nice it was at a very young age. Many people also do, isn't it? To their own son or grandson, they put that and take a photograph. He may feel a little awkward later on in life, but the parents want to maintain that. Like that it was. So what this parents did was, since there was no photograph in those age, they drew the picture. They made a expert draw the picture of that boy, and it was painted such and such date. It was given, and they maintained that painting. much, much later in life, maybe around 15 to 18 years later, now he is a very handsome, young, charming prince. He has grown. And one day he roams around in the palace, finds this picture, very old picture, somewhere in the godown. He has found it. And he's fascinated by the girl that is there in the picture. And he thinks, and he sees the date also, and he says, she must be more or less my age only. And so therefore he falls in love with that. And he says, if at all, I need to marry her only. Like that, his idea is now very deep rooted. So there's a change in his attitude. He is not eating properly, and others are observing it. So the mantri takes him to his confidence, and he says, I see you disturbed. There must be something bothering you. You can open up with me. I'll try to resolve it. And having faith in the mantri and knowing him to be a great counselor, the prince says, I have fallen in love with a girl. I want to marry her. So he says, that's good. Who is that? Anyway, we need a queen eventually. So then he says that I don't know that girl, but I have seen the picture of the girl. Where is that picture? This is the picture he showed. And the mantri actually laughs within himself. And then he goes on to explain the background, because he was there during the time also. He says, this was a drama. The girl was not there. So it was you yourself only. You have put that Vesha to you and it's your picture. Now imagine that state of the mind of the prince there. How would he realize? Now, he need not develop any hatred towards the girl. He need not run away from the girl. He need not rub the picture of the girl. All that he has understood is that which is that in the picture is only me. That's all. The picture will not do anything to him. That is called as realization. Realization. This is that which is seen outside is only me. This is the state of this realization. That which is there as the projected as the pluralistic movie outside is nothing but me and me alone. All the paraphernalia that are associated with it are discarded, and I am established in that core which is there. That is me. So in me, all these experiences are happening. I am not caught up in any of these experiences. In the screen, all the things are happening. I am just observing and I'm one with the screen only. This is the experience. This is the experience of this person who is established in this Paripurna Chidananda. His absolute consciousness, absolute bliss. All the time he was searching for bliss. It was coming and going, and it was again, he was experiencing it. Now all those experiences put together, it is in me. I am that unbroken bliss. Nobody can shake me away from my original state, which is bliss. This is the state of the person here. So therefore, having, and how does it, happen or function at the practical level? This is talking about the absolute level only, and that is the purpose of Atma Bodha. When you are established in higher aspects of life, then the lower gets discarded. You will, suppose if you are an adult, imagine an adult playing with the child a game of cricket or monopoly or carom board or whatever he is playing. He goes through the joys and sorrows of the game along with the child, but none of them have a effect or touch him at all. He is now established somewhere, though he may participate in the game, but the child will get affected. If the coin doesn't go in properly, or if he loses the game, he will cry. If he wins the game, he will feel superior. All this is there because he is in the level of that game. The moment he is now this man may be not caught up in the toy world. So he is caught up somewhere else. Because of that growth, he is able to enjoy this. Similarly, when the intellect gets fired about ideal, even there is a passion and emotion involved, but intellect fixes, this is what I need to do. This is what is my purpose of life. Samuel Johnson thought, I should write dictionary. Dictionary I have to compose. That is for the whole humanity. Once he got into that, everything else doesn't matter at all. You are able to come out of it. Slowly like that. With subtle intellect. All these are with reference to gross intellect in the world. With subtle intellect, if you are able to establish yourself in the self, absolutely, that spiritual pegging that is there, you will be able to come out of all these things. So Vedanta or Advaita Vedanta gives the direct way of realization, which is to understand the self as it is. It is realization. It is not extremely squeezing your mind. That is also method, and we have to collectively do all the practices. But the most direct way is to understand and realize that you are the self. Once that is there, every other thing is solved, because you have gained the knowledge of the self. Ignorance is the root cause. The root cause of ignorance is taken away from the root itself. So this is the way to realize the self. So in the practical way, you go step by step, going deeper and deeper recesses of your personality. And finally, when a person clinches that Atman, based on which he discards all the Varna, Brahmin is no more a Brahmin, Shudra is no more a Shudra, Sannyasi is no more a Sannyasi, or a householder is no more a householder. It is only self and self alone. By whichever way, if you are able to get that awareness, that person is established in this state. This is the state. He who has realized the Supreme Brahman discards all forms, colors, etc., and rests in his own intrinsic form, which is infinite consciousness and bliss. Verse 41 we will chant.
Jnana-jnana-jnaya-bhedaha parenatmani vidyate Chidanandaikarupatvad dipyate swayamevahi.
On account of its being of the nature of soul, knowledge and bliss, there are no distinctions of knower, knowledge and known in the Supreme Self. It verily shines by itself. Topic 5 begins here. Verses 41 to 46. 6 verses. Knowledge destroys ignorance, the self reveals itself. That is the topic. Knowledge destroys ignorance and the self reveals itself. In the previous verse he said Paripurna Chidananda. He says here Chidananda Eka Rupa. Same. So what it means is Paripurna is Eka only. What is infinite is only one. One is infinite. Infinite cannot be many infinite, isn't it? There is no mathematical one infinity, and geography there is another infinity, astronomy there is nothing like that. It is one Paripurna Chidananda. That infinity is in the form of Chit and Ananda. That is the consciousness and bliss. There are three aspects of experience: the experiencer, the experienced, and the experience. Subject, object, and the subject-object relationship. Subject-object, when they meet together, that is called as experience. Take anything for that matter. In fact, experience forms the basis of your life. What is the definition of life? Series of experiences. It is called as Anubhava Dhara. When your experiences stop, your life stops. Even sleep is experience. Class is experience. After that, your traveling is experience. Dream is experience. Seeing, hearing, smelling, feeling, touching, anger, love, all these are experiences. So you are continuously in a stream of experiences. And you will find that in every experience there are three aspects. The two aspects of subject and object, and they are coming together. This has to form the basis of all experiences. Here, sir,
what would be the difference for a self-realized person in terms of Anubhava Dhara? He is not having any Anubhava.
That is what he says. Jnatra Jnana Nyaya Vedaha Parenat. He has gone beyond these three. These three merge into that self, and that is the self that he is. So he doesn't have the experiences you and me have.
So, but you are saying that once the experience stops, then there is no life.
Right. As far as he is concerned, he has crossed life, and death. He has become that self. His body goes through certain motion, that is different altogether. So he is the self, and the self is not subject to any birth or death or any experience for that matter. He has reached that state. So life is made up of Life is flow of experiences, and experiences is coming together of subject and object. You take any experience. When you eat a mango, that's an experience. Mango is the object. You, the eater, is the experiencer. And the eating is the experience. Seeing is the experience. Anger. Who you are getting angry on? Your enemy. That is your object. You are the subject. You getting angry is the experience. Thinking, meditation also is an experience. Each and everything is an experience. What is interesting in all this experience is that you find that there is a need of a instrument for the experience. You need, and in general, subtle body is the instrument of experiences. Further, subtle body takes to gross body also, and the indriyas come into play for all other experiences. You experience anger through mind. You experience love with the help of mind. You see any object with the help of eyes, that indriya. You taste something with the help of tongue. You do certain actions with hand. All these are the instruments of experience. Instrument of experience. That is why in this verse he says that the Atma shines by itself. Why does he say that? Because a question may arise as to, I am experiencing this world now and I believe you. Once I realize the self and I wake up from this, I'll be there in there. But how do I know that state? With what will I experience that state? It is exactly like asking a dreamer. If he asks, you say that my dream body, dream mind, dream intellect, all are going to dissolve in the dream itself. How will I experience the waking state? Don't worry. Waker experiences himself by himself. So if you want to put it in a statement, that's what it is. Self experiences itself by itself. Instrument is also the same. The subject is also the same. The object is also the same. It is actually a way of saying, that's all. Otherwise, there's no experience. It's beyond experience there. So he says, it shines by itself. It doesn't need any other light to illuminate. It doesn't need any other instrument to experience it. It stays as it is. It is just there as it is. And then, once you are in that state of experience, all distinctions and demarcations, they just disappear. Absolutely, they disappear into that Chidananda self. Till we are in this world, there will be distinctions and demarcations. Because my mind creates a boundary that this is I. The moment I create that this is I, beyond that boundary there is something else, that is the world, that is somebody else, that is some other thing. So it is my subtle body which creates this demarcation within me, outside me. Outside me is somebody else. So the moment that is there are distinctions and demarcations. And these distinctions and demarcations, the wise people, they classified into 3, just for the sake of our knowledge. It is called Sajatiya demarcation. Sajatiya means within the same jati, but you find distinction. 2 cows, one is different from the other, and you will note the points of differences, but both are cows. So it is Sajatiya. Sajatiya means same jati. Vijatiya, different jati, different class, different species. Cow and a dog, you see differences, obvious differences. So that is one way of differentiating. Another is Swagata. Swagata means within one, but different limbs or different branches. Trunk is different from leaf, is different from root, is different from branches. All this is one tree only. So within the tree you see all these differences. So like that, within the body, hands and eyes are different. Like that it is. All these distinctions and demarcations just vanish. They are simply swallowed into that self. And what remains is that Brahman has none of these distinctions. It is Paripurna Chidananda. And as he said, Atma shines by itself. It doesn't need any other light to illuminate. There's no other instrument required to experience it. On account of its being of nature of the soul, knowledge and bliss, there is no distinctions of the knower, knowledge and known in the Supreme Self. It verily shines by itself. So that, always remember, distinction is there only when your thought is there. Thought is there means you as a separate entity is there. When that is not there, when it is in the form of Paripurna Chidananda, there is no chance of distinction. There is no chance of comparison. Comparison brings about distinction and differentiation. What causes comparison is again
Ego.
otherness. When do you compare two things?
When you differentiate.
When there is a difference you see. Only when there is a difference that you see that you compare. When you compare only you see the difference. This is the reasoning in circle. Sureshwaracharya very nicely he says that. And he says, therefore, you see in self there is no distinction. When only one is there, where is the comparison? Where is the differentiation? This verse probably leads to that only. That in Brahman, Paripurna Chidananda, there is no distinction. There is no demarcation. It is only absolute knowledge and absolute bliss. Where there is no distinction of the knower, knowledge and known. It verily shines by itself. We'll chant verse 42.
एवमात्मारणौ ध्यान मथने सततं कृते उदितावगतिर्ज्वाला सर्वज्ञानेन्धनं दहेत्.
Thus, by the constant churning of contemplation on the wood of Atman, the flame of knowledge is born, which burns up the entire fuel of ignorance. Very famous metaphor. Where did we study this? Kaivalya Upanishad, Mantra 11. It talks exactly the same thing. Again, you can go to YouTube and see, even today, this method of Arani is used. It's a 2-minute video, 2 to 3 minutes video only. Because it takes time to chant, that's why. Otherwise, it would have been a shorter video. How they should light fire for the yajna is by a very traditional practice of Arani, churning of the wood inside that Arani. Even today, very orthodox and traditional people, when they do yajna, they don't use matchbox. Though for convenience sake, many people use it, is not to be used. Arani is the way to generate fire. I don't know why, but that's the way it is traditionally done. And mantras and also they do. When they churn and when they invoke fire, they do. So, here is a cup above and a cup below. It is usually formed in the like a coconut shell that is there. 2 coconut shells which are kept concave. That is there. So here is a thing and here is another. In between there is a rod. And here there is a rope. This rope is, so actually 2 people, it should not be very tight, it should not be very loose. They hold it like that and they churn it very fast. Due to the friction, heat is generated and that slowly there's a spark. Once it comes, they light it from that. Here Swamiji has even extended the example to say that it completely burns by itself also, which we can take. There's no harm in extending that example there. What is the most interesting aspect of this example? Where was this fire hiding all along?
Inside the wood.
It was inside the wood. So wood contains fire. It is a very, very, what to say, it's like a magic show it is. How can wood contain fire? It should burn. No, it doesn't burn. It is there inside, but. And there is a process by which you invoke the fire. And when it comes, what does it really rely on to burn? The wood only. So the wood is the fire also. The wood is the fuel also. And and you extend that example, once the thing is fully burnt, nothing remains as it is. It just in that name and form completely it disappears. Okay, you can say ash may be there, that you can smear on the forehead. All that is also extension of this example. What are the two cup-like, that concave cups in which the rod is placed? The rod is the individual, you're right. The cups represent the two aspects of the individual, which is the higher aspect, the self, Omkara. Upanishad says it's Om, here it says it's self. Self is the Om. And then your lower nature. This person is caught between these two. And inside him is the self which is hidden. To bring it out, you have to churn. Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana is the process. Upanishadic terms these are. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad it comes that you can know that by listening, reflection, contemplation, culminating in meditation. This is the way. So first you have to listen, then you have to churn that within yourself, clear all the doubts and all the indecisions will go. Then based on which you will completely get into it and meditate, and then in that process it comes out. Once that spark comes out, that's it. The whole thing is burnt instantaneously. Like that it is. So only a human being has this lower nature and higher nature. Essentially all beings are self, but only a human being can realize the self. Potential, has got the potential to realize the self. Therefore, your job in life or your ideal in life must be to move from your lower nature to higher nature. This is a natural process. Swami Ramatita says, to be wise is natural. To gain knowledge is natural. It is that lower nature will pull you in the initial days. Initial means in the time that Swami Ramatita explains it beautifully. He says, our journey comes from very lower organisms, microbes and unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms and various stages that we cross, and weeds and plants and then fish and tadpole, various things that we go through, reptiles, birds, animals. And in animals also there are gradations. Then you come to the level of humans. This is the Darwinian theory of evolution also. Hinduism also in a way accepts it. That is why you find that in Dashavatara it's kept in that order, that it goes from fish to final this thing. Like that it comes. In this process of evolution, Swami Ramatita says, the lower creatures need not put in specific effort to evolve. There is a natural process by which the evolution takes place. And they have to struggle to survive. And whoever is the fittest will rule. They will survive. So the rule is that it is the strongest has to survive. So to be strong is your obligation. There's no other choice. Weak means you are just brushed aside. Nature is that way very merciless. So therefore, but it gives enough opportunity for you to strengthen yourself. Each and every animal is given particular strength, like that it is. But if you throw 5 seeds, the strong seed will survive. If the first bird hatches out, it will push the other things. That is the strongest one. It will survive. Like that it is. It is okay, he says, if the animals survive. Why that is surviving? One is surviving because one is the ultimate unity. To become one is the finality. In that one, all others are swallowed. You swallow all others. You finish off all others. You completely destroy all others. He says it's fine as far as the other species are concerned. The plants and animals are concerned. Humans also, the law is the same, that the strongest will survive. Survival of the fittest. You have to swallow others. Not by barbaric activities and killing others, but by swallowing others into your system, which is in the form of love. It is only by love that you are able to swallow others. So he says, a person is standing in the banks of river Ganga, or any river for that matter, in the very edge of the bank. So his reflection is seen by a person who is there apart inside the river. He sees everything is strikingly similar. One head, two hands, all the things are there. What is interesting is his legs and other legs are connecting. The legs of the image and the legs of the real person are connecting. What is the only difference he sees is this is upside down. What is left for him is right for him. What is right for him is left for him. That is the only difference. Otherwise, everything is same. So he says the movement of evolution is from like the head of the image, which is below the water, to the foot. Then from the foot of that person to the head again. The movement of the movement from the head to the foot of the image is equivalent to evolution in lower forms and coming up to the level of a human. That itself is a great evolution that you have reached. Congratulations, he says. But then after this, it does not stop. You have achieved everything and this is the ultimate perfection. No. You have to reach the state of God, for which you have to grow further. So the changing of the image, the changing of the attitude is the changing of the process that is there from animals and lower creatures and the humans. In animals and lower creatures, might is right. In humans, with the intellect, he has to understand the oneness and feel the oneness. Feeling of oneness is the way. By love, you will conquer others, and in this process, you will rise yourself. So here we see that very clearly when a person has just now come to the human level, by the past force, Purva Adhyasa, by the law of inertia, law of being in that same motion, this person who has just now, let us say, come into human form and a few janmas or whatever, we cannot say janmas or hours or days, that few time that he is there, he will show distinct tendency of animalistic nature. And for him, we say that is natural. It is natural. Because attachment is natural for a monkey. And basic instincts of life are very natural. All those things we will also exhibit. But when Jesus Christ is said to have said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. How can you forgive such a person who is actually putting nails on your hand like this? That's natural. For who? For Christ. For us, we may kill that person. That you will say, how can you do that? I will do this. This is natural. So when does this nature change to that nature? That is the process here. One is a lower nature, another is a higher nature. We are constantly caught in between these two. Sometimes the animal pulls you, sometimes the divine nature pulls you. Isn't it? So always this constant nature is there, but the movement is always from lower to higher. Once you slowly struggle and get established there, you will then start discarding the lower nature. So this churning is between that two only. This knowledge is, because we know scripture is required for us to learn about the lower nature. How should I behave, sir, when somebody is angry? You know, you will get angry and all this nobody need to teach. But we need to be taught as to how to maintain peace, how to self-control, how to have management over ourselves. This is what we need. So once the knowledge is there, you churn yourself, and when you churn yourself, the fire within you comes out, and that burns down all the fuel. We'll continue next class. Our permission.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.